Good morning or good evening and afternoon, where my guest is. This is Dr. Matthew Dunn, host of the Future of Email Marketing. My guest today, I'm delighted to have a repeat conversation with Baris Ergin, founder and CEO of, among other things, DirectIQ. Baris, welcome.
Oh, thank you very much. Thanks for inviting me.
And we were chatting just before I hit the record button here. You're rebased and now based in Portugal. How long there?
Oh, I moved here in July with the family, so
Okay.
it's been like 5 months, six
Yeah.
months
Yeah.
now.
And
Yeah,
you seem to be enjoying it from what you were saying earlier.
yeah. In general, I like the climate. I like the people here.
Yeah.
I like the cost of living,
Yeah.
especially after New York. I mean,
Oh
it's like
wow. Yeah.
night and day for me. The
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like it. I like it so far. And the time zone, it's as I mentioned, it's GMT. I have, I mean, DirectIQ is a global business. The team is all around the world, and
Hmm.
the customers are also all around the world. So
Hmm.
being in a GMT, exactly the center time zone, is amazing.
That's great. Yeah, time zones are becoming one of the key coordination people or coordination points for business, aren't they? Which
Yeah, I
is
mean, especially calculating the even the meeting calculations are so easy.
yeah, you're right, right. I
Math is
tweaked
easy.
I tweaked my calendar view so it shows an extra time zone because you'd think you'd get it in the tip of your tongue, but no, I'm still like, wait a minute, that's gonna be what time for them? Time is a mess. Give, if you don't mind, especially since someone might be listening and not watching, give people a snapshot of DirectIQ as a business.
Yeah, I started the DirectIQ probably in 2002, actually. I was running a digital agency at that time, and digital agencies customers, the bigger customers, enterprise customers, looking for an email marketing solution. And 2002, we're talking about. There's no
Yeah,
MailChimp or
yeah, yeah.
Klaviyo or others.
Early days.
So there were some, yeah, there was a software, I remember, Windows software called Group Mail, which allows you to send bulk emails from your PC.
Yeah.
Maybe there was Constant Contact. Constant Contact is old. Maybe they were in the market at that time. But so they came to us and asking, we do everything for them digital. So they said, we need to send emails, but we need to send bulk. We send it from our own mail servers and we're bumping into the blocks.
Yeah.
So, okay, we developed them a dashboard and email sending software without any guidance to see like what, there's no competitor to copy.
Yeah.
So we came up with this. And because half of our customers at that time were international, we built the software as a service without even knowing that concept as well.
Yeah.
And we labeled it because we're an agency, we labeled it, we made a nice corporate identity as DirectIQ.
Yeah.
And we ran DirectIQ for 10 years from 2002 to 2012 as a white glove enterprise software for our agency's customers, never
Okay.
becoming a public product.
Yeah.
In 2012, we closed the agency, but the email tool was eclipsing in terms of the revenue, the agency. So we kept the email tool and we decided that why keep it as an enterprise tool? It's a harder market and it's not really fun to work with enterprise customers. So let's offer this product to SMBs, small businesses,
Hmm.
but not change the product, not downgrade the product from enterprise. Let's offer an enterprise level product to small businesses.
Hmm.
It's worked well. It never became a success story that I can stand behind and tell you over drinks someday because 2012 was a little bit too late in the game to start the SMB businesses.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
It's where
Yeah.
MailChimp was already becoming one of the
Velocity.
biggest players, and
Yeah.
there were so many other competitors.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
from
Yeah.
2012 to 2020, I guess, since the beginning of pandemic, I ran the business, but it was like never growing to significant success, but never dying as well. It's
Okay.
like this annoying. I find it very annoying. Like it's not dying, so you're not moving on to the new venture, but it's
Yeah.
not also making you a millionaire. So it's like lifestyle business.
So you got to keep working.
Uh, yeah, I did, but I lost my motivation around the beginning of or end of the past pandemic period, 2019, 2020, and I was about to like get a hiatus. Like I did actually, I took a 6 months off, traveled around, and at that time I met some people who motivated me towards continuing this business. So I came back from that break with a strong motivation that I felt 10 years ago starting another business, like this startup mood,
Wow.
startup spirit.
Wow.
So I started the business. I came back with this motivation and I said, okay, I'm hiring a brand new team and I'm going to rebuild this product because the product lost its competitiveness. The
Mm-hmm.
technology stack is old. The feature set is old. There's no reason to try to catch up.
Mm-hmm.
Let's look at the market with my 20 years of email experience
Mm-hmm.
and rebuild a new email tool. So that's what we did. I hired a kick-ass team, global, because at that time the pandemic started. So it was time to work from home. So why focus on one geography? I hired people from Ukraine, Albania,
Yeah.
Spain,
Yeah.
Turkey. So I gathered a big team, and that team started focusing on rebuilding the software. So we built a brand new DirectIQ while the old DirectIQ and old customers are using the old version. We
Yeah.
built a new one. It took us 1 year to finish it. And it's became a really, I'm so proud of it. Like I never felt proud of a product
Great.
in the last 20 years, like I'm
Yeah.
with the new DirectIQ.
Yeah.
And as of July, we launched it.
Yeah.
And we started marketing as of January. We did it was a soft launch between July and the New Year.
Mm-hmm.
We ironed the kinks. And now, as of January, we're doing a strong marketing campaign. We're running with like 6 different tools, 6 different marketing channels right now. And I'm getting really good feedback. And the team is growing. We hired 2 new people around the New Year.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm back in the game.
You're back in the game. Wow.
I rediscovered the oldest tool in the SaaS business. It's the email marketing tool with a competitor. Like we have probably 100 competitors in the market right now.
Yeah.
But the product is like I can see ourselves in the top 5 very soon.
Congrats. Wow. And you and I spoke, I want to say over a year ago. I believe you were in Ukraine at the time, and I think you were in the middle of the dev process. I'm intrigued by and salute the develop the new rather than try and upgrade the old while it's still running. Are you content that that was the right strategy in the rearview mirror?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I am getting a lot of friction from the customers who we migrated from the old version to the new because it's like switching from Windows to a Mac. Like it's for them. Yes, it's a nicer thing new, but you get used to the old one,
but
and
it's different.
It's difficult transition. So I'm getting a friction from the customers from the old version, but the new version's customers and half of the old version customers migrated are giving us really good feedback, which motivates us. But like people are happy in general with what they see.
That's great.
And I didn't lose revenue instead of shutting down the old version to launch the new version. So I think keeping them side by side was a little bit expensive for us because we had to support both infrastructures, both customer base. But I think it ended up being a good decision for us.
You were, I'm assuming, but I'm curious to hear, able to change the infrastructure as well. I mean, development 2002, development 2020. Night and day in terms of platforms to build on, plumbing and pipes to use, clouds available, and things like that. Yeah, and dev talent too.
To be honest, dev talent is especially critical because we were lucky. I mean, it's weird to call it lucky, but the pandemic worked for us. Really? Everybody was working from home, no social life, no traveling. So it's like I hired people to work from 9 to 6. But they were working in evenings and weekends as well because there's nothing else to do in the middle of the pandemic, especially the first year of the pandemic where like lockdowns and everything. So I hired everyone just in the beginning of the pandemic without knowing the pandemic is coming. And it ended up everyone being more hardworking than I would expect.
Nice. And you were coordinating those dev teams, as you mentioned, different countries, different time zones. And in a way, it probably helped that most of the globe was kind of locked down, so if you needed to get everybody at time X, it wasn't necessarily a conflict with their evening social activity.
Even for me as the owner of the business, that I didn't have to like no traveling, no fun times that much, no going out at night. So therefore it gives you more time to focus on your business.
Well, and I mean, let's delve into that side of it for a second. The no conference circuit is like that sucks a lot of time, particularly from marketing teams and I think executives. Like if you've got conference X coming up, it just blows a big old hole in your hours
True.
and availability, and then there's the chase and the follow up, and yeah, it's like the the dev and engineering side of businesses. I'm wondering if we're going to see this sort of spike in quality because we had this 2 year stint where if you chose to harness it, you could say let's buckle down and do the hard concentration work that
Yeah.
wasn't easy. Thank you pandemic.
And and I'm hearing from the people who were working from the office that some teams have a hard time adapting to the work from home
Yeah.
situation. But because we started work from home, this new team, we didn't have this adaptation process. Everybody was happy working from
Yeah.
home
Yeah.
doing this. So it was
Yeah.
also lucky about that too. Yeah, but
Yeah.
thank you, pandemic is very weird statement. I don't want to say it publicly.
I well,
Not on
it's
recording.
but we have to look. We have to look for the unexpected gains out of a tragic sequence of events, and let's put blame where blame lies. A microorganism that none of us asked for. We got kicked multiple years into the digital future.
Mhm.
We've changed the definition of work and place, and we're not going to go back completely to you got to live in town X because the office is however close in town Y. I mean, you're a living example of it. Like, okay, Portugal sounds good. Let's go there and run a global enterprise. Why not? That was science fiction 20 years ago. No one got to do that.
That's true. That's true. But on the other hand, I mean, we've seen some businesses excel during this pandemic, like
Yeah, yeah.
Amazon,
Amazon.
probably
I
Jeff
know you were
Bezos
saying,
became
yeah, yeah.
2 times more rich from
Yep,
this.
yep,
Zoom became the common tool.
yep,
Like Skype missed that train, for example, seeing
yep,
that
yep,
now, like
yep,
Zoom was the pandemic tool. So
yep.
some companies and some people, I mean, I've met so many digital nomads who got stuck in whatever country they were in
Yeah,
during this nomad lifestyle,
yeah.
but they end up being more happy in general because when the economies stop and the world stops, if you're in the tech business and your business is doing okay, then suddenly you
Yeah.
improve your life quality.
Yeah, to keep going. I was chatting with a friend yesterday. I hadn't seen her in a few months, and she's, how are things? Da, 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 da. And I said, well, when someone says, "What was your experience of the pandemic like?" I'm gonna say, I don't know. I was working. It was like it felt very normal from that perspective, like in office doing stuff as before. So yeah, it's an interesting shift. Hey, backtrack if you don't mind, without giving away strategic secrets. You are in a competitive space, DirectIQ. You are in a competitive
Super
space.
competitive, super
Yeah, there's
competitive.
a lot people. Guy in the street, someone running an SMB doesn't necessarily realize that there are 100 possible choices at least of email platform. I mean, many healthy companies with the volume of email, there's a lot of pie to slice up, but it is competitive nonetheless.
Well, there's one big company almost taking the majority of the pie. MailChimp is literally the brand
Yep,
behind the email
yep,
marketing. Like,
yep.
ask 100 people, and probably 95 of them will say MailChimp when they ask about email marketing. So
Hmm.
they dominate the market, but the market is so huge that there can be 100 other players there,
Yeah,
and each of the players can grow into a certain size with a probably 1 in 10, one in 1,000 share of
yeah,
the market.
yeah,
So
yeah.
it is a huge market.
Were you happy? Were you happy to see the Intuit acquisition of Mailchimp, or is that a bummer from your perspective?
Uh, no, I mean, all acquisitions help our industry in general. They're either removing one player because corporate acquisitions kill usually the creativity
Yes,
and the
yes,
business. Most of the time, the acquisition doesn't work well for the competitor.
yeah,
So most of the acquisitions in the past didn't help that company,
yeah,
remove that company from the acquisition. So
yeah,
I wasn't complaining about that.
yeah.
And to be honest, after that acquisition, I received at least 10 serious acquisition offers as well, because suddenly other companies are also like, oh, we should also grab a
We need to be
piece
in the
from this
mail.
market.
We need to
So
be in
yeah,
the
it's
mail space.
it's
Yeah,
pushing us into the highlights for sure.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it was emails this kind of constant thing as other channels come and go. But back to pandemic for a second, with everyone more lockdown, and with an end output of work is much more digital, right? The most common channel, email, is only going to be more viable, I think.
Yeah, and when you look at the acquisition side, we're talking about 100 competitors. It's a very crowded market, but for any marketing related tool, it doesn't have to be email. But if you have a social media marketing tool and you're big, you have to add email to your arsenal. Yeah. And when you go out for shopping, then suddenly that 100 option is not like, it's a small market.
That's true.
So it's more of a seller's market than buyer's market.
That's true. Yeah, that's very true. I mean, given the scale of the market, 100 is actually not that many. Arguably,
yeah, for the buyers, it's not that many.
Yeah. Wow. Good observation. Are you focusing on particular niches? I know SMBs, small and medium business, have been a focus for DirectIQ for quite a stretch. Is there anything more narrow than that of the kind of SMB?
We see that it's 1 to 100 people, employees, small to medium businesses, and we see that we are more successful in companies where either the owner or one marketing person is running all the marketing efforts, not a specific email marketing person or a big marketing team where everybody knows everything, but like one people trying to juggle all the marketing efforts combined. They are more ideal fit for us. That's what I'm saying. Maybe because we are easier to use than most of the tools. So if you're not an experienced marketer, when you're an experienced marketer, you're looking for more shinier features, more obscure features that you may utilize. But when you're a regular marketer, then you just need your emails out and you don't need to worry about the complications of it.
Right.
So that's what we see. And we also see maybe half of it, our growth is outside of US.
Interesting.
But we are growing.
Marketing is picking up outside the US, you think?
That, and I think the competitors are too much focused in the US market because after all, I can tell you easily 90% of the market is the US market in terms of the revenue you can generate. But the 10% is still, when you're looking at the market size, 10% is still a big pie outside of the US. Yeah. And it's significantly easier. I can give you a simple example. Email marketing, the keyword, in Google Ads costs more than $50 per click.
Whoa!
It's crazy. Per click, it's not conversion. To bring a visitor to your website, it's $50. And I think MailChimp is dominating it. MailChimp, I heard that spending $100 million on just Google, just to dominate that space, just to keep the competitors off the market.
Yeah.
So $50 per click. Then you go to, let's say, Mexico, just down the border, and you can dominate the email marketing space for email marketing and the Spanish version of that keyword for like $1,000 a month. You can be the number 1 or 2 in the market. So outside the US is still a big market, easier to dominate. That's what I'm seeing.
Yeah, and the cost of acquisition, attention, and brand is, as you're saying, is substantially better.
And the need for email is everywhere same. People in China need to send email, people in the US need to send email. So this tool is same for everyone.
Is the US such a lion's share of the email marketing pie because of the money U.S. companies spend on it? It's not 90% of emails sent or received, the U.S. market, but it still seems to be disproportionately where money is spent on email marketing, if you get my distinction.
Yeah, but the economy is like 100 times larger than even the combined European economy. So it's like the money in the market is so big, the marketing is so much larger.
Yeah.
So email gets a big share from that marketing as well.
It's a big share, yeah. And kudos to.
There's also a small difference, even though US is also catching up with that game, but the privacy and the anti-spam laws in the Europe, for example, is significantly stronger than US. Now, California did that and rest of the US will follow. Canada already did that one of the first, but it's easier to spam, kind of like send bulk emails in US without worrying about complications, but in Europe, it's very strict.
Yeah, it is. And it makes it more expensive. Makes it more expensive to do legitimately right? Because you
Yeah,
have to pay attention to records, permissions, opt-outs, all,
yeah. So many rules.
yeah,
So
so
many
many
rules. It's
rules.
not
Yeah.
just send a button and send out to your list. It's not like that anymore.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. But at the same time, you're saying there's still like a rising tide in terms of email as a marketing discipline in other countries outside the US.
Yeah, and the pandemic also, again, thank you, pandemic, but
Yeah.
it kind of helped it because lots of businesses moved to online only or
Hmm.
online heavily,
Hmm.
increase their email budgets. Like
Right.
commerce moved to e-commerce, and e-commerce uses email as their
Yes.
primary tool,
Yes.
and
Yes.
suddenly that gives the
Yeah.
market bigger. They grow the market bigger.
Grow the market bigger. Yeah, I just had a thought and it just went right out of my head. Oh, I know what the thought was. My observation about emails fit in relation to other digital channels is that there's still not really a gatekeeper exacting a toll. I mean, governments is one gatekeeper, but Facebook can change Facebook's ad rates, right? Google can
Yeah, yeah.
change or let the market change um, uh, their ad rates, their interest based ad. Cost of sending an email doesn't necessarily get dictated, and it's not. There's not one party. If your ESP came along and said, "Well, sorry, we're going to have to charge you 10 times as much to send," you'd switch ESPs.
Yeah,
Take
and
the list.
there is no cost of it
Yeah,
technically.
yeah.
Yes,
Take
the
the list
servers
with
are
you and
cost,
go.
the team is a cost, but there's no cost of the email itself.
Yeah,
Email
yeah,
is still free, a free tool for everyone to use.
yeah,
There's
yeah. It's
always a free or very cheap option that you
yeah
can switch to.
that you can switch to. Now you work in other markets as well. Is texting and other messaging channels part of what you're trying to tackle with DirectIQ? Where do you stand on the whole text as a marketing channel
We don't
challenge?
see a single other marketing channel that works hand to hand with email. Some countries use WhatsApp more, some countries use text messaging more.
Yep.
And we tried to implement text messaging many years back, and
Mm-hmm.
the regulations are different for each country. The email is almost same universally. Yes,
Yeah.
there are some anti-spam laws, but email sending is same. But
Technically the same. Yeah.
text messages is based on the recipient's operator or recipient's country. The cost is even different that you pay for email,
Yes.
pay for text message.
Yes.
So it's much harder to tackle, and we didn't really see the benefit. Yes, so there are some companies actively using text messages in their day-to-day operation,
Mm-hmm.
mostly for notifications, not marketing, of course.
Yeah.
But I don't see any. I don't think we're leaving money on the table for not doing text messaging.
I heard a friend who runs a pretty well-known email marketing agency commented that if you want to grow your email marketing budget, spend a little bit of time testing text messaging first, because you'll look at the cost and go, "Oh my God, let's go back to email, shall we?"
Yeah, I mean, once you ask people for paper message
Yeah,
cost,
yeah,
your customers, then
yeah,
yeah, they will switch back to email, of
yeah,
course.
yeah. When
Yeah, we were
paper
worried
was,
about, I mean, maybe media created the hype that maybe 10 years ago that we were worried that social media will kill email.
hmm,
I never really believed the hype, and it didn't happen.
yep.
So social media didn't kill email. Social media also uses the email, and social media is dying from time to time, but email lives. So it's really hard to beat email with any other channel that you can use.
Well, there's a open standard common protocols nature to email that is really not at play in any of those other channels, right? Texting is a historical technical accident that carriers jumped on,
Mhm.
and they exert control, and they're collecting a fee, as you said. If you pay per text message, it adds up really fast. What we call social media is the channels of a collection of companies, apps, websites, etc. But there's not a social media IETF protocol. There's no such thing,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. Like
So
it's not like email. It's not like
yeah,
web or email.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and it's not like, well, it's interesting you said not like web. I've thought about this and I still haven't wrapped my head around it. I cut my teeth on web early days, actually before the web, but the dominance that Google has in the role a website can play for the marketing function of a business kind of,
Hmm.
it baffles me and it frustrates me a little bit. I mean, people spend as much or more on their SEO as they do on their website because the site itself doesn't matter if it's not getting found in search.
Yeah, but you know the numbers as well. Being in the first result or even in the first
Yeah,
page for
yeah,
any term that you're looking for
yeah,
is the money.
is the money.
And second page drops in the list so much that nobody goes into the second
Yeah,
page. So
yeah,
yeah, that money you're spending on SEO is bringing back
yeah,
more.
yeah. No, it is, but my point is, there's a gatekeeper on the web where there's not
Yeah,
a
true.
gatekeeper on email. And pretty much one one gatekeeper. You know, I'm a huge. I admire many things that Google's accomplished, but
Unfortunately, there is a kind of a gatekeeper in email too. If you're talking about consumer emails, because significant percentage of the recipients are Gmail.
yes,
So Google kind of keeps traffic there too. Like it's very hard to pass Google's spam filters or not ending up in the
yeah,
promotions
in the
folder, which
promotions
people
folder.
hate.
Yeah, yeah.
So Google kind of gatekeeps there too, unfortunately.
Well, we've got. I mean, it's funny we stumbled into this turf. I'm doing a talk at an upcoming conference around that very issue. The inbox bottleneck, for lack of a better label, in
Mhm.
the email space. I would argue that right now we're lucky that we've got a bit of a dynamic tension between Google and Apple in the
Mhm.
inbox. If iOS didn't have substantial market share for their native email client,
Mhm.
Google would be in a darn near monopoly position on the inbox. And they're not, but it's really those two companies that Apple's mail privacy protection launched in September. It's turned a whole bunch of aspects, and we can talk about that. A whole bunch of aspects of email marketing and metrics and feedback kind of upside down. But it's interesting that it was Apple that did that, not Google. And what Google
Yeah,
does with your
Google
inbox
will try
signals
to
is different.
monetize. Yeah, Google will try to monetize it, and
Mm-hmm.
Apple more worked for the privacy part of it. Because in my Gmail, I'm seeing ads on top of my mails. So Google is making a different approach to it, but it's keeping me away from the spam. So it's kind of helping me as well. Otherwise, I would switch to another provider anyway. I'm happy with Gmail,
Yeah,
but
I use
I
Gmail
didn't
as well.
know how big. I didn't notice that how big the Apple's influence in the industry until they launched this mail privacy thing. I
Surprise, huh?
the the stats went nuts.
The
The open
stats went
rates
nuts.
went nuts because
Yeah.
of the Apple's privacy policy approach. And I didn't know that Apple that has that much of
Didn't know that
influence
much
on the email
influence.
world.
I'm glad to hear you say open rates went nuts. I've been in this long running argument. We launched a service. We Campaign Genius launched a service a couple months ago. We can provide accurate open rate metrics, including MPP. Um,
Mhm.
but the email marketing space seems torn between, oh well, open rates are dead, dumb, in my opinion, or my open rates haven't really changed, which I don't believe. I just don't believe it.
Yeah,
Like baloney. They
yeah.
went up and you're happy. And that's not the same thing as they didn't change. There's no way that Apple iOS footprint on email has not actually affected the accuracy of what you're looking at. It's got to have.
Maybe if you're only B2B to corporate domains with in the past Blackberries and now
Yeah.
whatever the phone
Yeah.
they use,
Yeah.
but not Apple phones, maybe,
Possibly.
but it's very small percentage. Most
Yeah.
majority of the marketers impacted. Some are happy blindly because their numbers are higher on
Yes.
the tables, but
Yes.
the
Yes.
monetary it's not converting to money because it's just balloon as Apple
Yeah.
creates.
Yeah.
Suddenly, some people are focusing on more on the clicks.
Yeah.
They say the clicks is the new metric that we should follow, but
Yep.
not every email has call to action. It doesn't have to be like emails don't have to have call to action. So clicks is not always a topic to look at. So it
Agreed.
is a very hard thing.
Yeah.
Some we are also looking into it. Some are trying to filter the Apple related opens. There is a way to do it because
Yeah.
the agent is
Yeah.
identifiable, but it's not also a real metric because some Apple users are actually opening the email. So I don't know. It's very complicated, and I don't think the
Fair.
email world has a consensus on how to act.
No, no, they don't. They don't. And selfishly, we're we had to look for a solution to that because as a real time content provider, like delivering the images delivered matter a bunch.
Yeah.
And so we had to say, how are we going to grapple with this problem? I think it's partially because that accidental measure of open rates was in place for so long that there still
Yeah.
seems to be a bit of shock about what do we do now that it's not reliable in the way we thought it was. And I realized it wasn't 100% reliable ever, but it's like the ground went out from under people's feet in the email marketing space, and they're trying to figure out whether to deny it, run away from it, do something completely else. And I don't think any of those are an answer, honestly.
I wasn't even sure, at least for 3 months, I just silently watched if Apple is going to make any changes to their policy because it broke so many marketing
Yeah,
automation systems
yeah,
that, yeah, like if I'm sending emails to my openers, automated series of emails, whoever opens my previous email, then suddenly people are receiving emails back to back without
that's
even
right.
opening the emails.
That's
Like
right.
Apple is triggering those
Yep,
filters.
yep.
So I'm not even sure what Apple did is the perfect cure
Could
to the
agree. I
problem.
agree. Yeah, yeah, agree. And
So
and
things may change. I think we're not on we're not at the finals. I think Apple will change some things as well. Not saying that they're going to take it back, but
yeah,
maybe they may fine tune it to optimize it along the
yeah.
way.
Well, Google, to be fair, historically, when Google launched their image proxy, gosh, I want to say circa 2012, 2014, they got some industry pushback because initially they were more aggressive about caching, and they got
Mhm.
some industry feedback, email industry feedback, like, "Hey, you're killing us here." And to their credit, Google kind of backed off on how aggressively they were caching stuff.
Mhm.
Apple, my read on it, I would love to have someone listening, chime in or connect this up. My read on it is Apple doesn't particularly care that the MPP adjustment kneecapped email marketers. I don't think they care.
Well, they listened to feedback. They made major changes in their releases in the past
Their
about how
consumer,
apps collect, yeah, how apps collect data or not collect data, those
that's
kind
a,
of things. They made changes.
you think that's based on industry and middlemen or consumers and government? Because I'd argue it's consumers and government. Apple has such a strong privacy brand, and it's
Yeah,
only
true.
continuing to grow, their business, that I think whatever makes them look better at privacy is what they're going to keep doing.
Yeah, maybe they can find a compromise because I'm not sure if the current everyone opening every email, showing them as an opening is
Yeah,
the
is a
perfect
good
solution.
is a good solution. Yeah, yeah. Well, and I mean, to be fair, Apple is trying to grapple with this weird historical artifact problem. We were all sort of misusing the HTTP bits that are accidentally built into email. And Apple's like,
Mhm.
oh, what do we do about this? Do our customers want marketer X knowing whether or not they opened an email? We think no. We'll say it's a spy pixel issue. As soon as you say spy pixels, you win. Right? You win the argument. As soon as you say, "Do you want email privacy?" The answer is yes, regardless of how complicated the issue is. So yeah, I don't think we're done with this either. I am concerned, however. You mentioned the mechanism, user agent string, and boy, we're way down the geek rabbit hole here. Um, Apple could change Apple could change the sort of precarious hold that companies and ESPs have on cordoning out or recognizing their traffic. It would take. I mean,
Mhm.
I hate to trivialize it, but it's like two lines of code to randomize the user agent string, and
Yeah,
then guessing what's an Apple open gets even harder.
yeah. I mean, for Google, it was easy because we suddenly started seeing opens from Mountain View,
Yeah,
California, and it
yeah,
was easy. Like,
yeah.
and it's all in Gmail addresses. It's also easy. But with Apple, it's all over
All over.
the email address. It's not about the email address, but it's the device that opens the
Yeah,
email. So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
make it a little bit difficult. Yeah, I don't know. I prefer to wait for the dust to settle down a little bit before
Yeah.
taking a major action. Right now I'm watching what people are talking about, what people are trying,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
what Apple will do
yeah,
next as well.
yeah, yeah, yeah. And to have companies, not countries, in
Mhm.
in 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 these quasi policy positions. I mean, it's kind of the reality of now, but it's also a little bit vexing. if a country changes a law that affects how something works, in theory, at least you got a mechanism to go and say, wait, hang on a second, like you're killing our industry. If you say, coffee cups have to be a standard size and you're a coffee cup manufacturer, you go back and say, wait a minute, you're putting us out of business. Do you really want to do that? With Apple, with Google, with the companies that have achieved that level of influence, there's no linear path to stick up your hand and say, we want to say in this decision. The promotions tab is a very good example. Like, how do you get out of the promotions tab? Answer, it's going to be a different answer tomorrow. That's all I know.
Yeah. There's no golden rule that you can do.
There's not. Like, how do you optimize your website for search results? Answer, it's going to be different tomorrow. Like, it's just black art, constantly moving target. There's no published standard that says here's how to get out of the promotions tab.
For
they game it.
For the spam folder as well.
Yeah.
The most questions we receive daily is how to avoid spam folder.
Yeah.
And there is no answer to it. The same exact email from the same exact server may end up in your inbox and my spam folder on Gmail.
Yeah.
Without any rule, like based on our previous history, I guess, but there's no rule for it.
Right. And we're way down the rabbit hole, but I like it. The notion that that's not damaging to both sides of the equation involved in that email, the sender and the recipient, is baloney, right? Because if I land in the spam folder, or if I land in the promotions tab, if I sent you a message saying, hey, let's coordinate a time to have this conversation, and it landed in the spam folder, you probably wouldn't see it. Which means I didn't actually send you an email.
Yeah, I have two daily check emails. One is my personal Gmail and my other is my DirectIQ work email. Yeah. And I have to check my work email spam folder at least once a week to see if I'm missing anything.
Yes.
That I'm waiting for. Matthew sent me an email and I missed it maybe. So I need to check that folder. Yeah. But I'm not even looking at my Gmail spam folder for sure. So some businesses are going away because of the spam folder placement for sure. Yeah. On the other hand, about the privacy policy, what I feel like, I hate websites and apps tracking what I'm doing. I watch all the documentaries about how we are the product, not the customer. But on the other hand, when I turn off the custom tracking of the cookies, suddenly I'm seeing irrelevant ads on the apps or websites. Like they were actually helping I was seeing more relevant content on these apps and websites, and now I'm not seeing it. So there's a trade-off. For your privacy, you're also losing some of the benefits that tracking is giving the advertisers.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't want to see ads for, pick something I'm not interested in. Why are you bothering me with this, right? Yeah, and that convenience, confidential, that set of factors, those are really going to be shaping decisions. You already mentioned the difference between EU and the US, for example, and the US playing some catch up there. We're not done with privacy regulation yet. What do you think about? This is us playing art critics sitting up in the balcony. But Facebook shed $250 billion in market cap in a day last week, thanks to Apple. Fundamentally, it was Apple's app privacy protection that just kneecapped Facebook's advertising revenue. And my view from the sidelines is, wow, that had to hurt. Too bad. What do you think?
I think they were over greedy in general. They became too greedy they attract too much attention with their greed. Because if you think about it, Apple is a huge mega tech company, but nobody considers Apple as an evil company, but Facebook is evil. Microsoft is evil, but Google is not, for example. It's about how they are doing things or not doing things. Even though they do the same things, they do the same tracking, they do the same trying to manipulate you and everything. I think the Facebook's approach was a little bit too greedy, and now they're getting punished for it.
A little overreach. Hey,
I don't think that drop is the last drop that we're going to see. I think they're going to shed a little bit more. They'll downsize a little bit in terms of the growth.
I got to push back and pick an argument with you, though, as an alum. I think Microsoft has made a remarkable pivot. Oh man, I just lost Baris. We're going to pause.
Yeah, sure.
There we go. We're back. We're back. I was just gonna say, pick an argument with Baris about Microsoft is evil because I worked at Microsoft in the '90s, and I was sick of the company, disgusted with it when I left because it was mean and kind of dumb. But now the behavior from Microsoft as a company seems like night and day from 10 years ago.
It is the CEO changed a lot in the company culture.
Astonishing, astonishing. Yeah, like the way they work with, yeah, the way they work across the board. We're way off the track,
Yeah.
I think Satya Nadella goes down in the history books as a CEO that made a company make an astonishing turn in not just in business but in culture, and that's not easy to do at that scale. It's like,
And we're talking about the companies do similar things, similar sizes,
yeah,
Apple, Microsoft, Google, and Facebook.
yeah,
But you can name two of them as evil, or at least one of them definitely evil right now, but the others are not. But
yeah.
they changed because of maybe the management, because of simple decisions here and there. And we like Facebook, what's happening to Facebook is completely because of how they see us, the consumers.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I would argue structurally, Facebook overreached in this respect. That when Facebook launched their APIs and said, we're basically going to be everywhere. We're not Facebook the website. We want to be connected into anything and everything. They
Mhm.
sort of got lucky when smartphones and mobile came along and exploded because many apps were already writing to the Facebook APIs, and Facebook had this explosive growth, but they never had control of the device.
Yeah.
And Apple just showed the cost of not having control of the device. They said, we're going to change the privacy policy, and we don't care if you like it or not. Tough.
Yeah,
And
and I could think that's why Microsoft spent a fortune trying to make the Windows Mobile, Windows Phone the
yes,
thing. It didn't
yes,
happen, but they tried hard
they
only
tried
because of
hard.
that.
Well, they bought Nokia and then dumped it like, oops, that's an expensive hobby. Right. And you've got Google in playing, playing in a really interesting back and forth. Like they have influence but not complete control over Android.
Hmm.
A lot
Hmm.
of influence, but not complete control because they pursued the open source ish Android. So they can't make the unilateral moves that Apple can. And they
Yeah,
wouldn't necessarily, like Google makes their money on advertising, let's be blunt.
yeah.
So it'll be interesting to watch that one play out from the
Come
cheap
on,
seats. And
even
I'm
making your Google as a default search on all the devices is more than enough money. They don't have to control the
yeah,
platform.
yeah, they don't have to control the platform. And I say all this, and I'm surrounded by flipping Apple devices here. So like I like their privacy policy, even though I'm frustrated by MPP. Well, Baris, we've got just a few minutes left. Tell me where you'd like to see DirectIQ if we have this follow up conversation in about a year. Where would you like to see things go for your company?
Oh, well, I think we caught a very nice trend right now in terms of the growth.
Yeah,
The new product is very competitive and it's growing super fast as well. Now we have a backend that is so solid that we can add more features like weekly in a weekly cycle. So
nice.
I think the product will be 10 times more powerful
Yeah,
a year from now. And the growth will be, I can easily write my name and sign under it that I'll have 10x more revenue this time next year as well. End of this year, actually, end of December, let's say. So I am
wow.
very hopeful, but I'm also a little bit tired from the email space just because maybe I'm running this business for too long and also because of all the changes that we're discussing as well. Like email is a very difficult space because you have to deal with spammers, you have to deal with bad intent, like phishing and spam is there, and you have to fight with those people all the time. They're
Yeah,
coming to you all the time.
yeah, yeah.
So I'm a little bit tired. So I don't know, maybe a potential exit next year, or maybe stepping back, being a chairman instead of the active CEO and hire someone as the CEO.
Yeah.
But I don't see myself, let's say 2 years from now, I don't see myself in the seat.
Okay. Okay. Wow. Wow. I love a guy who puts an actual stake in the ground. I am going to put a note in my calendar like chase Barris down in 2023 and see how things are going if we haven't talked before then. Well, thank you so much for spending the time and connecting with me from what it's evening, right? It's evening time in
It
Portugal.
is, yeah, 6:20
I
right
was
now.
watching the sun change a little bit in the course of our
Yeah, the light
conversation.
went darker.
Yeah, the light went dark. Well, cool. My guest today has been Baris Ergin, founder and CEO of DirectIQ. You can find DirectIQ at directiq.com. Baris, thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Take care.